What's going on, y'all? What's going on? Checking in, checking in. Give some of y'all some time to join here, you know what I'm saying? Let's see, what is all this? I don't know what the stream looking like. I'm about to go look how it's looking. See, it's 3 of y'all in here. What's going on? It's just a 6. Funny. Yeah, though, so about to go and get this cracking. I'm gonna see let some more y'all join in here so I can make some of y'all some moderators and stuff like that. So channel can basically run itself for a minute. What's going on, y'all? What's going on? I figured, you know, since it's a cold day, might as well just do a little bit of trucking, talk about some LS stuff. So alright. So just a couple of alerts. We got a few videos about to come out. I got another unboxing video about to come out. I think I'm gonna do a video on installing AN line for people who don't know how to install it, and I got a couple other things that are coming too. Yeah. I don't know why on here it's doing that, so let's try to fix that real quick. It should not be doing that, so let's try to fix that. Let's go to settings. No, that's not what we want. We want to add gameplay. Game capture. Alright. See if we can get this to come on out here. So let's see what game capture looks like. Let's see if it captured it better. But yeah, though, we're gonna talk about a couple of things. I seen y'all boy Steve Davis, the one y'all love so much. I seen he over there trying to do an LS swap. Oh no, that's not what we even want to load into. I seen y'all boy over there trying to do an LS swap. So we're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna talk about a couple other things. I heard he say he want to do 20 psi. I think 12 psi will make him shit on himself. Just because he hasn't driven any real horsepower. I'm just being honest. My day going pretty good, I'm just sick AF. Can't really do nothing, so I'm not supposed to go outside or nothing like that, according to the doctor. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes. So like I said, I seen that he was talking about doing an LS swap, a turbo box. And like I said, my whole point or my whole thoughts on that is that I think 12 psi is plenty for him. And I'm not just saying it because I don't think he can handle the horsepower. I'm just saying 20 psi, that's a little far-fetched. 12 psi, man, it'll make him literally shit on himself. So I'm just saying. But I seen that was going on. I see a couple of other people doing a couple of different things. So yeah, just kind of want to address that. Oh, and I'll also go over a couple of different setups on some different turbo deals. If you're looking for a budget turbo LS, my best recommendations is to find yourself a 5.3 liter 4853. Take it apart. What's going on, JP? Take the motor apart. Like I said, don't cheap out. Go ahead and buy some head gaskets. Get some LS9 head gaskets. And if you so desire, you can put some ARP rod bolts. I mean, not rod bolts, but head bolts. You know, those little old cheapo eBay ones work just fine. You know, cheapo eBay head studs. You know, you can literally pick them things up for like $116, I think. Now the turbo that Steve Davis is going with, it's iffy. That turbo is kind of iffy. If I was Steve Davis, I would look more into like a S400, which turbos can be had for like $400, $450. You know, those turbos go to like an 80 millimeter for that cheap. So I think that'd be a really good starting point for him. I don't know what he's trying to do, but you know, I think that's a pretty good start for him. That's just my honest opinion. But you know, he does whatever he wants to do. You know, I'm not gonna tell him what to do. You know, he's a grown man. But that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know what y'all think about what he doing. Let me know if y'all think it's a good idea or what. Like I said, I still can't see the comments. Let me go ahead and make you a moderator here, JP. Let's see, where are you at, buddy? Where are you at? Let me go ahead and make you a moderator. Or admin, I think it is. Moderator, admin, whatever. Same thing. Let's see, how did I do that the last time? I'm trying to see how I did that the last time. I think it was something on the side or something, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. The fuck? Nigga, the fuck? Okay, done. Here. Alright, I see you now. So JP, we're gonna make you a moderator, and we're gonna make it's just a 6 moderator as well. There y'all go. Alright, so I'm also thinking about doing a Google Hangouts a little bit later on tonight. Where my dog went? There you go. I'm thinking about doing a Google Hangouts later on tonight as well. So y'all know how powers. Let's see. Let's go back. How cold is it for you, JP? How cold is it up there anyways? What you gonna do with your Caprice? What you planning on doing with it? Oh, it's 20 this morning. Y'all let me know if it's trying to lag or something. I think it was like 38 this morning or something. What you looking for? 454, 427, 396. What? I can probably help you out on one. probably do better building one yourself. I mean, you can find them. If you really want to do something though, like if you want something with a lot of power, here's what I'd probably say. Look like on like eBay and stuff like that. You know, it might necessarily be in your little state or city or whatever, or town or whatever, but you can find like old motors that have been cammed up, got good heads and intake on them. You just gotta buy a carburetor to go on them. That's what I'd probably say though. Try to find one that was built to race with, and they'll usually have forged internals and stuff like that already in them. But if you really want to just build one yourself, get some Pro Max heads, get a decent cam, push rods, roller rockers. Big block is, you know, it's gonna be a pretty hefty build though. You know, you don't want to do one super cheap. You know what I mean? But you don't want to spend $20,000 on a motor. So you can build a decent one though, with a decent price. Really need to turn this steering wheel sensitivity down. But what y'all want to talk about this early morning while we just cruising right now? Yeah, look on eBay right now. Type in, or if you can look on it right now, type in, like big block Chevys. You can probably find like a complete loan block for like $400-500 complete. You know, you can sell them heads, sell the old internals and stuff, because people want that type of stuff. You know, they're doing original builds and crap. You know, you'll find somebody who wants that type of stuff. 8,000, they get you something nasty. Hey JP, you still got my number? Text me and I'll send you some info. I'm going way too fast over in California. I'm surprised they ain't pulled me over and shot me. Y'all let me know if the screen lagging or whatever. If it's lagging, let me know so I can mess with the settings a little bit. It's lagging or what? Man, this truck cruising at 75. Got a little bit of a drive ahead of us. Yep, in California. Team Schaefer funny, bro. Alright, cause I was wondering. I didn't really know if it was lagging or what. What LS was talking about this morning, I didn't get to catch the live stream. I ain't even see his live stream, so what are you talking about? I ain't been able to catch nobody live streams, to be honest. I need to make a Schaefer moderator. Make a moderator once we stop up here. But what y'all think about old Steve? Oh, okay, talking about those issues. What else Steve talking about though? I know he's talking about that Turbo LS. Damn. Fucking dumbass car. Go for your CDLs. I need some type of system that just pop up the chat on the side of the screen or something. Shit, this ain't working. Get around all these retards. Hopefully there ain't no cops nowhere near. What do you mean, Schaefer? I think that fool's talking about a Turbo LS or some bull. Which this truck has, I think right now I have a 2450 torque on it, and it's 6.25 horsepower. It's an M14 with 18 speed with 325s. Basically one of these trucks that you would see hauling cattle and stuff. One of them cattle trailers. Blazing down the highway doing about 80 or so. I do want to get out of California though, because I hate running up here. So let's talk about dirty speed, cheap horsepower. As far as I'm concerned, a LS can definitely make a lot of horsepower cheap, but it's just the whole thing of how long will it last on that type of horsepower. Now we already know a LS can last 700-800 horsepower all day long, but how long will it actually last there? I mean, you take a big block for instance, and you can make 1200 horsepower all day long, every day, you know, and it'll live for that. Popo ain't got nothing on me. Hurry up and get there because we got a long ways to haul that load. I'm about to actually another load that we can pick up here in Oakland. Cause right now we're about to go pick up a 150,000 pound load, and it's going 189 miles, which is quite a ways. And then we got another one here in Santa Cruz that we can pick up going to Santa Maria. I'm almost wondering, should we just go pick up that one? Almost. Let's see. San Fran, we got, let's see, where's Oakland? Oakland should be right here. We have not unlocked Oakland yet, have we? So it's over in San Fran, nothing. Santa Cruz, nothing much in Santa Cruz either. Let's go way up there to Portland, which is quite a ways. Barstow, we're not going over there. Astoria, not going over there either. So I'm thinking the best bet is just to grab one of these ones. I think they pick up at the same place anyways. You know what? You know what? We're gonna pick up something that's interesting. Screw it. Yeah, I mean, a big block could definitely get you that. You could drive whenever you want to. Thing with a big block though is you gotta have a decent cam in it, you know, because you're gonna have decent heads on it and all that. You know, you still better run pump gas in it and all that. I don't know what kind of gas you want to run in. If you want to run E85 or 93 or whatever, you know what I mean? Nope, y'all is not getting over here. Stay over there. It's just car in front of us. So you just want an NA car, you don't want no nitrous or nothing like that. No turbo, no nothing like that. And then it also comes down to, you know, how much horsepower you want, because horsepower kind of determines also if you'll be able to drive it every day or not, you know what I mean? Like Matt Sample, Sloppy Mechanics. Sloppy Mechanics guy's real name, Matt Sample. Like Matt Sample, and I'll get to the compression conversation in a minute, but like Matt Sample, he had that Colorado that he drove for a while, and he just recently sold it, you know, about a couple of months back, but the truck had 430 horsepower when he first did it, 430, 450 I think, and the truck was pretty fast, you know, for what it was. I mean, a small block, super light, aluminum headed motor from the factory, you know, turbo. I mean, the truck looked like it moved out pretty good. It had an 80E behind it with a Ford 8.8 rear end. I think he had something like 373 or something like that behind it. But the truck moved out pretty good. So I mean, for what it was, the truck was pretty fast. You know what I mean? Then he started trying to make more and more horsepower with it. So obviously it got way faster, and he was still driving it on the street and stuff. I mean, I think that's a pretty banger combo. A 500 horsepower car you can drive every day. I mean, with AC and all that in it as well. I think that's a pretty nice combo. But let's see, compression. For $8 grand, man, you could have a Pro Charge car for $8 grand. You know, you might not be able to get that big block that you want, or maybe you could. Yeah, you probably could get a Pro Charge in a big block, but for 8 grand, you could have a Pro Charged car. Heck, for 8 grand, you could have 80mm turbo, 91mm turbo car for 8 grand. And nice, reliable parts, too. With a boost controller, you just crank up the boost whenever you get ready. So I'm trying to just get an idea of where all this stuff is at, what the whole layout is out here, because I gotta bring a big load through here in a minute. Just trying to get a kind of an idea of where everything is in this general area. What is it? Oh my god, these dang cops get on my nerves. You don't know what it's like, get out the way. Man, for 8 grand, you could have a nice Pro Charge car. Nice. Still have enough money left over to do anything else you want to do to it. You could have a built transmission, Pro Charger, a nice motor, a 2-step trans brake. You can put whatever rims and tires you want in it. Man, you could have a nice car for 8 grand, real nice. And you just want to put 8 grand to the motor, you can put all that into the car itself. Yeah, the popo, man, they get on my nerves. I hate the popo. Alright, so let's talk about the compression. Alright, so compression, you'll see, let's see, what can I use for a example? You'll see a nitro motor, like a pro stock NHRA class, you know, motor, like a Hemi, blown Hemi, some turbo Hemis. They have a whole bunch of other motors, but mostly the blown Hemis. Those motors use really high compression, and hence they use nitro. Now high compression, all it's gonna do is just give you more horsepower. Essentially, you can make a lot of horsepower, you know, with low compression. You know, if you think about it, I mean, back in the day, guys used to have 8-to-1 compression ratio motors, and back in those days, running 11s and some cars running 10s, and we talking about street cars here, running 10s, you know, and they was driving these cars every day. So I mean, I'd probably say low compression, you can make a lot of horsepower with it. You know, anything you can make a lot of horsepower with compression, with low compression. And if you just really wanted something that was stealthy, I'd probably say low compression. So some like a 427, 396, 454, you make it have decently low compression ratio. And just for shits and giggles, you can throw a little bit of nitrous on it, nice cam, some heads on it, and keep the low compression. And you know that nitrous will wake that motor up. You know, you can still cruise around with your 342s in it, you know, 373s, and that overdrive transmission, and you'll still be just fine. You know what I mean? Hey, that brings the RPMs up like that. Alright, so I gotta bring that load right through here. I'm not looking forward to that. And another thing, if you were down to like 8-to-1 or something like that, you could always use a head gasket to kind of fluctuate that a little bit. You know, you could shave the heads down a little bit. You know, it's just all I'm trying to get in that street car range. So I'd probably say 10-to-1, 11-to-1, still pretty decent for a street car. You know, still pump gas worthy. So, wait, what the fuck? Where my load at? Santa Maria. Let's see. Oh, that's almost 200,000 pounds. Okay, that's gonna take a hot little minute. Crap. See, this one expires in 12 hours. This one, it's not really much of a load, anyways. Take this one. We got a nice little load on here. Alright, so now I gotta carry this pig out of here. That's on there. Alright, let's get this cracking. Let me know if y'all want me to do more videos and stuff like this. So right now it should be right at 220,000 pounds in total right now. About 220,000 pounds, I think, around where we are. So it's a lot of weight to be moving, especially this late at night when you can't really see nothing. So I'm probably gonna have to hang outside here for a minute. I can't really see nothing right now on this super dark road. Dragging it too. Pit maneuver this bitch. Okay, swinger rod. Get some speed on this one. A pretty heavy load. I don't think we're gonna be able to go about 40 miles an hour, if that. Working it pretty hard. Damn, I wish I had some more lights on here. I wish it was at, you know, where I could actually see. I'm actually setting cruise control. 480 will work good behind the big pump. It'll work just fine behind the big pump. And just like I said, it all just depends on what you want to do. You know, you can run a 400 with a gear vendor's overdrive. You can run an 80E. Whatever you do, please do not put a 60E behind it, because you're gonna piss the 60E off completely. 80E though, that, you know, 80 work just fine. A decent converter, behind it, and that's about all you really need. And get a billet for clutch done to it, and get a couple other goodies on it. 8V2 kit put in it. And, you know, you probably be, just in transmission upgrades, you'll probably be less than $400-500 into it. You know, and whatever converter you decide to go with, pretty much. Oh, the Jake's not coming on. Alright, can y'all hear me now? I don't know if y'all can hear me now. So y'all can't hear me now. Alright, I'm gonna wait on JP to come back so I can, you know, shoot that information real quick. What I was about to say. I'd much rather be outside, y'all, ranching right now. Damn, I cannot go outside. I mean, I might try to go outside. Alright, we're gonna see if we can push it fast. I guarantee it's gonna try to slow me down, though. Yeah, I can already tell it's about to try to slow me back down. Coming up on him. Man, this is brutal. okay going this slow. Got 100 more miles. Coming to be a little light outside. Y'all can see on the road, in the middle of the road, on each side the lanes veer off, and this is even in real life. That's why sometimes trucks ride the middle like this whenever they have a heavy load, because the road is even in the middle, whereas on the side it kind of leans a little bit. So I try to ride the middle, but in sports or something else. JP doing shit. But yeah, though I got a couple of unboxings coming in. A few more parts came in. Let's see what else came in. Like I said, I'm probably not gonna be able to make it to the track this year, simply because the DAs and weather is not really because DA and weather is not really checking out. It really don't make much sense to go out there and waste time. But you know, if the car is done, I will be going out there end of January, beginning of January, because the weather and DA is supposed to be a little bit better January sometime. So we're gonna see how January is. You know, that's how we're gonna look at it. On the street, we will be doing a couple of test hits. So we'll be putting the slicks on the car, laying some pimp juice down, seeing what we can see, how much we can put down to the street, and get the nitrous bottle all filled up so we can make a couple of nitrous hits as well. Funny. I ain't even gonna touch the shit. I'm just lugging on up here. What y'all up to though? Let's see, what else can I update y'all on? 6 liter should be coming pretty soon. I don't know if it's gonna be right away, but the 6 liter build is coming. New trains, huh? Like I said, I don't ever have to touch the gear shifter. I just lug the truck up here and touch it. Look at people up there. Ain't that something? I think we gotta get off the road up here and go 36 miles down a retarded small road. Starting to get some sunlight now. Hold on. I don't know if y'all just seen that, but what the hell? What did I just hit? Let's see. What the fuck? I'm not seeing what I could have possibly hit. Oh, bitch, cool, bitch. I'm not really seeing what I could possibly hit. Let's change the camera view here. I know, right? What could I possibly be on? Set that right. Going to the death cam. Man, what the fuck? I'm not even. What the hell? I'm not even near anything. Ain't that something? Just lug it back. God damn, suck some tits, bitch. I'm not even nowhere near you. Let's go through the front. See what we're looking like. We're gonna try to drag this truck out of here. Let's see what we might do. I go, see if I click 0, and let's say I do as far as possible. And I just F9 it, let's see what it looks like now. I just fucked myself. Oh damn. Yes, I do have to mod the game. Oh shit. We're gonna get this out of here, y'all. One way or another. Rather have to cheat the game or whatever, we're gonna get this out of here. I am determined. We won that battle. Kinda seen that being a problem. It's gonna be a pretty windy road. Pull. So this whole time, I'm just going uphill. All the way until I deliver, I'm going uphill. After this, I guess we can do a couple of LS combos. You know what I'm saying? Just for old time's sake. Kind of help some people out. Supposed to be parking, so damn, they fucking lying. Damn, get over here. We golden. Think we are golden. So I believe everything's in line. I think we're golden. So let's go ahead and drop this trailer. Alright, so I think now we're just gonna talk about good old LS Power. Let's see. Alright, so I seen my boy Badass Stang. I seen he had built a Regal, I believe it was, yeah, Regal with an LS3 in it and all that good stuff. So I thought that was a pretty cool little setup, you know what I mean? LS3, nice horsepower, nice driver. But let's talk about the Turbo LS and, you know, putting it in the G body or a box Chevy. Let's talk about the downfalls and the goods of it. So the downfalls of it, one of the biggest downfalls being that you're going to blow the rear end up more than likely. And the reason I say that it's not to be negative in a way, but it's just reality. You're gonna end up blowing the rear end up. And the reason that I do say that, because if you think of it this way, the 7.5 in a factory form, a stock motor could blow the rear end up. And as weird as that sounds, it's possible. 730 horsepower motor. I think the highest was like 160 horsepower. And I think the motor made like 200 foot-pounds of torque, which is no. I think the highest one being what was it? 2 something torque. You know, a factory G body could break the rear end, so that's one of the biggest downfalls you're gonna run into when building a turbo G body. It's probably the rear end. Now that's something that, you know, y'all's folks, Steve Davis, is gonna run into. That's the biggest downfall that he is going to have, is that rear end, because that rear end is just not gonna take what he's about to put through it. Like I said, 12 psi, he'll probably shit on himself. You know what I mean? So as far as the upgrading of the factory G body rear, I probably say look no other than probably going to Moser or something like that. 28 spline axles. 28 spline axles is probably what you're gonna need. And what I would do is I would contact those guys. Now I do know someone who builds a 7.5. They can put 31 spline axles in it and all the other stuff, but yeah, do you really want to upgrade one of those? I think's not. So that's why I probably say do one of those. Because those can, you know, they can do pretty decent with some Moser axles and a Yukon center section, and a couple other things like welding up the axle tubes, bracing the axle tubes, putting some forward housing ends on it. You know, the type of stuff that you can do with them are endless, honestly. So that would probably be what I'd recommend more than likely. Let's see, as far as everything else, like as far as you doing this or that or whatever you plan on doing, a good start for a G body or for just your first little setup, I'd probably have to say go ahead and go ahead and go on eBay and literally just type in GT45 wheel turbos. You'll find millions of results. Millions. When I say millions, I mean literally millions. And what you want to look for is a GT45 76mm turbo. And what this is like the billet version of the eBay turbos. Now, although the turbo is not necessarily eBay, the design that they took from it was from like a Precision Turbo or On 3 or something like that. That's the design that they took from the turbo, and they took the design from a bigger turbo and just put it on a 76mm turbo. And they're kind of, you know, making their own thing with it. So, you know, that's kind of something that you could do. That's something that I probably would tell a lot of people to do, is to do that kind of thing. But let's see here. See, I'm trying to look for a perfect blend. See, I need to make it more shinier. Yeah, that makes it way more shinier. Let's see. As far as a transmission, the best bet with a turbo LS is probably an 80E. Do an 80E, do an HD2 kit on it, and you can literally find a 5.348 for 200 bucks, a complete long blocks. In most cases, you can probably get an intake with it. If you're willing to go to the junkyard, you can probably pick up a 80E for 250, 300 bucks, and right there alone, you're already in $500. And as far as the cam goes, I'd probably say do a sloppy stage 2 cam, and that'll either be an Elgin cam or a Jags cam, or you can look the cam up just straight up sloppy stage 2 and they'll pop up everywhere. Those are the cams I'd probably recommend as far as a budget turbo LS. Now, if you do have a little bit more money to go into it, you know, something else that you can get away with is a Little John Motorsports cam. Now, those are really, really good cams. They make really good horsepower. If you're willing to spend the money. If you're not, you know, don't look into it. But the Little John Motorsports, those are some really, really good cams that I'd probably recommend to a lot of people who ask me. So, as far as what stage of cam I'd probably go with, for a factory bottom end motor, I'd probably say if it's a 4853, a stage 3 cam, if it's a 6 liter, you can go up to stage 4. A stage 4 work just fine. So those will probably be the ones that I would go with more than likely, just cause. So let's see, I'm trying to think what other questions people would ask. As far as fuel supply, fuel delivery, you can find some cheap old Bosch injectors. When I say cheap Bosch injectors, you can probably pick up a set of 210s for like 300 bucks. And then, you know, they already come with the adapters to EV1 to EV6 and an EV6 to EV1 connectors. So they already come with that type of stuff already in the kit. So basically, it's, you know, splicing into your old ones. Or what you can do is go to the junkyard, find the EV6 connectors, and if you still want to be able to use your old style injectors, or you want to be able to swap injectors, take that, solder the ends onto the newer connectors and plug them right in, and you know, you pretty much have your adapters. See, I'm trying to think what else. As far as you being able to run horsepower, if you pull the motor apart, gap the rings, put LS9 head gaskets on it, cheap old eBay head studs, what else? Reuse this factory manifolds, flip them forwards, cut the bottom of them off, put a V-band on it. V-bands are like $8 or $9. You know, you're gonna need 2 of those V-bands just for that alone. Get a piping kit. You can get some piping kit with 45 and a 90 and a straight. You're gonna need about 2 of those. So 2 of those are gonna run you like 95 bucks. And then to just take the headache out of everything, since you already have the front of the motor apart, put an LS6 timing chain in it. You can put a, what is it? I'm trying to think what oil pump that is. See, I can't really remember, but you can port and polish your factory oil pump to flow more. And there's a couple other things that you can honestly do to make it work a whole lot better. But those are just, you know, things that you just do. You don't just, you know, do it without doing that. As far as everything else, see, I'm trying to think what else I can shoot y'all. Let's see. Figure out what oil pan you're gonna use. Oil pan is probably gonna be major to what you're gonna do. So I'd probably say oil pan is just as important as everything else, if not more important. There's a couple other things as well. There's a lot of other things as well. But I'm gonna be right back, y'all. I need to go get something real quick, and I'll come right back. Let me go grab something. I'm back. Trying to remember what I was talking about. I know I was talking about the budget turbo setup. See, I'm trying to think what else. That was on an oil pump, I think. As far as the front cover for the turbo, something that you could probably do, and this is just what I would do to kind of lower the headache, kind of. On eBay, you can go and type in LS front oil drain. See, how would you type it? Turbo LS oil return. And then it'll pop up a whole bunch of stuff, and then you'll see different covers. So you'll see a cover for single turbo and for twin turbo and stuff like that. And basically what it does, it takes the factory front cover and they kind of pull it out a little bit, and then they screw the bungs in, then they weld them, and then they seal them, and you'll have basically bungs to return the oil from your turbo back down into your oil pan. This is a straight shot into the oil pan. So that's a good thing to have. And also, if you're trying to feed the oil to a turbo on an LS motor, something else that you can also do is they make a like a kind of like a kit almost, and what it does is it drains the oil back down to where the oil cooler would be on a 6-liter. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but the oil cooler, it's essentially just what it sounds like. It's a few lines that runs into a separate cooler. It cools the oil and it runs the oil back into the motor. On a 1/8 drill bit, drill it, drill the thing out. Make sure you clean it all up. If you have a Dremel, it'd probably be smart to go over with a Dremel, open it up a little bit, Make sure the pores in it is all clean, and tap the threads to a 3/8 NTP. You want to run the tap through it a couple of different times. Spray it down with some WD-40, then clean it all out. Run it back over with the tap again a couple of different more times, and go ahead and screw the oil feed into that. And you basically have your oil, essentially oil feed to your turbo. And if you go with the GT45 turbo that I'm talking about, it already comes with oil feed, so you don't have to worry about buying another one of those. It already comes with it. Make sure you replace the gasket on that. You can replace it. I think the gasket's like $2 or $3, or if you're on a real budget, you probably get away with some RTV, which RTV is probably not the best thing for it because it'll probably leak with RTV, but to each his own. Let's see here. Oil pan, no modifications to the oil pan because you did buy the front cover. You do not need to modify the oil pan, so the oil pan's fine. That's pretty much said and done, the oil pan. So just if you want to replace the gasket, I personally don't see the need to replace the oil pan gasket. It kind of makes no sense to replace the oil pan gasket because as everyone knows, all the gaskets on an LS motor are supposed to be reusable. That's how they designed it from the factory, to all be reusable. So I'd probably reuse the oil pan gasket. Just make sure you tighten everything up in a sequence to where it won't leak or anything like that. Let's see, I'm trying to see what else. Now if you are LS swapping a G body and you're trying to do a turbo setup, you're gonna need transmission. You're gonna need to at least build your rear end, if not get a built one or build one yourself. If you want to go the route that I went, which is getting an 8.8 and getting a kit and swapping an 8.8 into it, you can do that. That's a pretty smart idea. It's budget friendly, so if you're trying to put less than say $5,000 into a car, that's a nice kit to have, because you can go pull a Ford Explorer rear end with disc brakes and 373s and posi unit, or 355s and 342s and 410s. All those can be pulled for like $250. And if you're fortunate enough like me, because I found the guy who already pulls them, and they come with disc brakes, and they come with the yoke, and they come with a posi unit, and they come with everything that you need for $250. So they have that. So I'm trying to think what else you could possibly get. That's a nice little thing to find if you can find it. Because like I said, those things can be had for dirt cheap. Let's see, I'm trying to think what else I can give y'all. As far as the mounting situation is up to you. I'm not gonna tell you how to mount it. It's kind of up to you. As far as mounting the motor inside of one, you do need 1-inch setback plates as well. You can reuse the factory rubberized mounts, and listen to this very closely. If you're going to reuse rubber mounts, take some window silicate, and you can replace it with a polyurethane bushing, which that's all that little rubber piece is, just a bushing to kind of take the shaking of the motor away. Take some polyurethane mounts, put it inside the clamshell, and take some zip ties on each end where you usually see a rivet. Take some zip ties on each end, zip tie it all up, drill the rivets out, and you want to fill the sides of it with window silicate. Let it harden up, and it'll make the motor mount real stiff, but it won't have that solid motor mount feel. It'll still have some type of bracing in it, but that's a nice little idea that I kind of found out a while ago from a older gentleman. So you can do that as well. That's a nice little mod. Now if you are using clamshells, you will have to end up cutting some part of it. As far as which part, I can't really remember. I think it's the part, it's on the passenger side right there where the old AC bracket used to go. So where you would normally mount your AC at, on the bottom, the very bottom bolt on the block of the LS motor, you're gonna have to notch in that clamshell. So make sure you do notch the clamshell in. There's a couple of different ways to do it. You can take a Sawzall, cut it, and then go to town and try to figure out another way to cut the other part of it. Or if you're fortunate enough, you can take a angle grinder, cut it, and basically just make it like a V almost, just to knock that part of it out. Just make a V, just make a full V out of it. And you know, if your car came with a small block Chevrolet, you can reuse the stock bolts and all that stuff. See, I'm trying to think what else. Like I said, manifolds, you can reuse the factory manifolds. You can reuse the factory bolts. Factory bolts work just fine, as long as you don't break them inside of the block. The biggest thing with those bolts is getting them out. Reusing the bolts are fine. It's just getting the bolts out. Reusing the factory bolts is just fine, like I was saying. As far as, let's see, as far as the sealing of the manifolds, I keep hearing something. As far as the sealing of the manifolds, you want to go to your local O'Reilly's or something like that and just ask them for the manifold gaskets. You know, for instance, if you're using like a 485-3 6-liter, you can just walk inside the store and be like, hey, I want manifold gaskets, exhaust manifold gaskets for a 2002 GMC Sierra. They'll have them. I think the gaskets should not be no more than like 12-13 bucks, something like that. And they come with both sides, so I mean, that's literally the cheapest way to seal that. And then it's also the best gasket to seal it, since it's a multi-layer gasket, and the gasket kind of welds itself together almost, essentially. So you can do that as well. Let's see here. I'm trying to see what else. I'm trying to give y'all everything y'all could possibly need to do this swap for Turbo LS, you know, as cheaply as possible. You know, I don't want to just give you something that does not work. As far as the situation of doing anything else, that's pretty much the motor part of it, I do believe. Now, if you want to get technical and you want to do other stuff, you could probably go ahead and get the heads shaved down a little bit. That'll add a little bit more compression with the motor. Let's see, what else could you possibly do? Get a little bit more compression out of it. Stock pistons are just fine. Stock rods and crank are just fine. If you want to get your crank turned, you can. It's not really necessary, because you're not even going to pull the crank and all that apart. One thing that has been found is that whenever you start pulling the crank apart and you reuse the factory bolts and you try to retighten the crank down, the crank will never ever seat like it was supposed to. Never. So that's why I always say, do not pull the crank out. Leave the crank inside of the motor if you possibly can, because once you pull that crank out of there, everything has basically just been unmiked like how it was before. Everything from the factory was mic'd perfectly. So if you reuse all that stuff, it should go back in fine. See, I'm trying to think. Let's see. As far as transmission and torque converter situation, I'd probably go with like a 3200 stall, simply because it still is a street car. Street cars, you don't want too loose of a converter, because then you get too loose of a converter, car drives like crap, can't accelerate like a normal car would, stuff like that. So that's why I always tell people, don't go too loose of a converter. What you can do for an ADE though is go ahead and search up on eBay. It's called an HD2 kit. This kit will be like 260 bucks. This is basically a budget transmission upgraded kit, essentially. So that's the cheapest route you can possibly go with upgrading the ADE, is the HD2 kit. And if you can spare another $100, go ahead and get the forward clutch casing, the billet casing for it. It's like $100 like I just got through saying. That's another cheap upgrade as well. And let's talk about you building boost. So if you want to take the car to the track, or if you just want to hot ride on the street or whatever, the Sloppy Mechanics trans brake is probably one of the easiest modifications that you can do. And even if you're not running any boost and you just want something like a trans brake, this is probably the next best thing. What it does is it locks up the 3/4 shift solenoid. If I can remember right, it is the 3/4 solenoid that I do believe it is. Yeah, it is the 3/4 shift solenoid. It locks those two up. It binds them together, and when it binds them, it creates the car from being able to move back and forth, almost like a trans brake does, because the trans brake binds up reverse and first. No, reverse and neutral is one of them, and it binds those up, and then you add a bump box onto it and lets you bump in. And what it does is it deactivates and reactivates the solenoid, and it lets the motor builder roll in a little bit, or the car roll in. But you don't necessarily need all that. You can probably do that with the Sloppy trans brake. And like I said, if you're doing a $300 transmission from the junkyard, a 80E $300 transmission, you know, you put 260 bucks into it, you know, you put the billet forward clutch on it, you can always take that crap back out of it and reuse it once that blows up. So yeah, it's kind of whatever you want to do, essentially. As far as dry shaft, you can probably just go to some sort of like big rig shop or something like that and ask them for a dry shaft. What all do they have as far as dry shafts? Can they make you one? And usually these guys all have like 3 and 4 inch piping for a dry shaft. And a 3 or 4 inch dry shaft, I mean, you'll probably never break that with that kind of horsepower at that level anyways. Really the only time you have to worry about breaking dry shafts is when you get up to like 700-800 more, you know, something like that, 700 or 800 more horsepower, is when you really need to start worrying about dry shafts. But you know, a little street car putting around, you really do not have to worry about a dry shaft, because quite honestly, every time you launch the car, it's probably just going to spin anyways. So you know, no needs to worry about that. Now, if we're talking something different like a race car, you can probably up the boost. But like I was saying, how Steve Davis wants 20 psi and he'll probably shit his pants at 12 psi, will probably be the same for you. You'll probably shit your pants at 12 psi versus 20 psi, and 20 psi is just nothing. You know, it really makes no difference to go to 12 to 20 psi. Because more than likely he'll just be putting around, you know, want to hit it a little bit here and there. He'll probably shit his pants. So 12 psi is more than likely enough for you as well. And a stock bottom end, you know, 10 psi, I'd probably say 8 or 10. No ring gap can probably take. But you're already tearing the motor apart. You're already gonna put LS9 head gaskets on it. You might as well just pull it apart and gap the rings a little bit. Doesn't hurt. Make sure you don't go too much on the ring gap though. You go too much, then your motor start blowing out white smoke and all that other crap, which you don't really want. And when it starts shooting out white smoke, and it starts looking like a smoke show and all this and that. But one thing that a turbo car will have whenever it starts up is it'll always shoot out some sort of smoke whenever it first starts up. It's just common with cars, with cars that have a turbo on. It's just very, very common. Well, there you go. Cat just said trans are like 120. Yeah, so I mean, if you wait, and here in Texas as well, we have like the sales, so they'll like mark like 40-50% off of them, and sometimes it will be like 60%, and you can walk out of there with an 80E for like 80 bucks or something. So you know, while you're in there, you might as well just go ahead and scoop up 2 of them if you're gonna, you know you're gonna end up breaking them. So you know, and a 5.3, you know, just like the Transes, and the 5.3, it's a motor that can be built well, very well, when you do it correctly. If we're talking just regular old street cars, you can probably make a 5.3 make something like just my guesstimations, you know, this is with someone who is a decent tuner but he isn't spectacular. You can probably get away with You'll probably get away with 600 horsepower. More likely you can get away with 600 horsepower. And that's just a low ball guesstimation. Obviously these motors can make well more than that, but 600 horsepower, I mean, and you can still drive the car every day, turn your AC on, you know, drive around, not to worry about it overheating or this or that. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And most people are gonna charge you like 6 and 7 grand just to do a swap. So while you're already in the swap, you know, if you want a 500 horsepower, we're just gonna use this for instance. If you want a 500 horsepower in a 6-liter, what I always tell people whenever they ask me to do something for them, like a build or something like that, if they want a 500 horsepower 6-liter NA, and I always tell them, well, here's your options. You can either build a 6.0, a 6.2. Those are pretty much the only motors that are gonna make that kind of horsepower. Or 6.0s and 6.2s. Alright, JP, see you later, bro. You can probably go out there. I can probably go pull you a 5.3 or a 4.8. And I'm not gonna pull some bazillion mile motor. I'm probably gonna pull a motor that has 170 or less, something like that. 170 or less. I'm not going to cheat you out of your money, so you know that's why I always tell people. I say you can either build a 5.3 or 4.8 turbo car, or you can build a 6-liter that's NA, and the budget will be a lot tighter on it. Whereas if you build a 4.8 or 5.3, you could probably build it for way cheaper. But yeah, you know, some people don't really look at that. You know, whenever they ask me to do a build, and that's why I always tell them, you know, do whatever you want. But I'm just trying to tell you the smartest route possible. You know, some of them take it kind of hard, you know, but it's kind of whatever you're building. You know, if you want an NA motor, you know, you'll get an NA motor. But it's just something you gotta keep in the back of your head, is that NA is gonna cost more to build versus you just building a budget turbo LS. And so that's kind of that situation. Like I said, I just know a lot of people want to do that kind of stuff and don't really succeed in it because they just want to throw something together that's not gonna last very long. And you know, when you're building something like that, you kind of want to build it to hold some type of horsepower. So let's say if you blow a 4.8 or a 5.3 and you go to the boneyard and you pull a $80 motor and you want to use your same parts, you can reuse your same parts. That's why I always say build it right the first time, and then the next time it blows up, you know, you'll know what else to add, you'll know what else to do. So yeah, but it's a couple other things that can be added into the equation to get a way stouter motor. And as far as the intake, you're probably gonna do better with a Trailblazer SS intake. Just a turbo setup alone, a TBSS intake can pick up 20 to 30 rear wheel horsepower. I mean, that's a big gain just off of intake alone. And I'm talking about, this is using a factory size throttle body, so this is using an adapter to go down to the factory size throttle body, and then you add on the 92mm throttle body. I think you can even fit like a 98 or 102 on there possibly. You add that all onto there, and that's another 10 to 15 horsepower to the rear wheel, and you know, that's a no-brainer. So literally for a intake, you can probably find one for 150, 120 on eBay, and then the throttle bodies are like 40, 50 bucks. So you know, that's practically a no-brainer. As far as fuel rails, you can use the factory TBSS fuel rails, or if you want to go the factory truck intake route, what I'd probably say go with a adapter to adapt it to the bigger mouth throttle bodies. That's way smarter. That way you can fit bigger piping on it, you know, more flow, less restriction. As far as wastegates, Turbo Smart makes some decent wastegates. It's another company out there I can't think of, but those wastegates range from 65 bucks all the way to like 140 bucks. Obviously a bigger wastegate is gonna make more noise, but most of the time you're not gonna want to vent a wastegate into an exhaust system. You're probably just gonna want to dump it straight down to the ground. Blow-off valves, you don't necessarily need a blow-off valve, but if you want a blow-off valve, you can get one. Personally, I'm probably not even gonna run one, but if you want to, you can. And if you do decide to run a blow-off valve, the best ones on the market, like I'm talking about the best ones, or like the ones from ProCharger and stuff like that, they're a little pricey, but they are the best ones. Wastegate goes on the hot side. The cold side is the part that goes through the intake. Well, that goes up to the intake, goes through the intercooler and all that. Wastegate goes on the hot side. Cold side is the part that goes, all through the intercooler and all that crap. And another thing, if you really want to, put it a little bit far-fetched, you can add in a meth kit, which is like 200 bucks. A meth kit is like probably the cheapest way to kind of cool down the charge, unless you want to buy a small nitrous kit, like a like one that screws into the intake tubing. Unless you want to screw one into the intake tubing, you could probably get a cheap old nozzle kit for like something like $250, something like that. That comes with a smaller bottle. And whenever you really want to get into boost, you just crack it open, and you can set it up to where it's on a button, to where whenever you go wide open throttle, you just click it and it'll cool down the charge even more. So you can jet it up for like a 20 horsepower setup, and you'll probably see like a 40 horsepower gain. And that right there is less than $3,500. Everything I just told you is literally less than $3,500 to have a turbo LS that'll make 650 or more horsepower, still be able to drive it every day on the street, and still street legal. That is literally the combo of all time. Literally the dingle ball combo. That's literally super cheap. Anybody could build that, honestly. I do hope that Steve Davis sees this video so he can kind of see where he needs to go. And I hope everybody else sees this video so they can see where they kind of need to go. And it's kind of just people, they hear different things, they see different things, but they don't necessarily know what to do. I hope this video will kind of help people out on where to actually steer themselves, because you can get confused with a turbo setup. And I'll literally, after this, after I get through customizing this truck, I'll go into greater detail on everything else. So I'll pull up a diagram on how a turbo actually works. So, and then I'll have different things. I'll actually show you everything. 1,000 horsepower LS. Literally, the only thing I can tell you right now is for a 1,000 horsepower build, which I am in the process of doing a 1,000 horsepower build. Don't really spare any expense. My budget right now, just for engine, trans, and getting chassis work done, my budget right now is 12 grand just for that. So I'm trying to get chassis work done, get my trans built somewhat, and get my motor kind of iffy built. So I'm probably still going to use the factory internals, but I'm just going to run more ring gap. I'm going to get some better flowing heads on there so I don't really have to work more boost. The more flowing head that you have, it's going to drop the boost level down, so it kind of works in its favor. So if I go with, like, if I modify my factory 317 heads, and right now I think they're like 190 cc, something like that, and I modified them to be like a 250 cc head, it's going to drop my boost level like 3 or 4 pounds down, or maybe even 5 or 6 in some cases I've seen. It'll drop it down 5 or 6 psi. And what you can do to compensate for that is add even more boost, and more boost adds more horsepower. And so, essentially the setup is working better. It's flowing better. You're not necessarily overworking anything, because everything's working in its own favor. Just like let's see, what's the best way? Just like an NA motor. I know a lot of y'all probably know what I'm talking about with NA if I say NA. A NA motor is nothing but an air pump. And then you add a turbo into an NA motor, and the motor has to work less to get more air. The only thing you're doing is just revving it up even more to just circulate more air. The faster you spin the turbo, the more it boosts, and yada yada yada. So you kind of get the gist. Let's see, what else can I tell y'all just off the top of the dome without pulling up everything else? Turbo motors, they're probably some of the best kind of horsepower you can ever feel. You literally have never driven a car until you feel a turbo car pull. You know, a 400 horsepower turbo car will pull hard. So yeah, but as far as 1,000 horsepower, I'd probably say don't spare any expense. Be ready to spend a hefty amount of money. You can have people build your own motor, but of course they're going to charge you even more. Or you can just get your own block and build it yourself. That's probably the smarter idea if you're on a real budget. That's probably what I would do, more than likely. If I were like actually trying to do a physical real build, that's what I'd go with. Just saying. So I'm gonna go ahead and buy this truck. $100,000 later. Let's see, where we want to put this whole garage. What garage? I'll put it right there. Now 1,000 horsepower. 1,000 horsepower is only going to carry you so far. You have to have more stuff to even compensate the 1,000 horsepower. So that's why I always say don't just count on 1,000 horsepower to get you there. It's going to take way more than just 1,000 horsepower to get you there. But yeah, though. So let me go ahead and make Cat here moderator as well. Add moderator. Let's see. JP, I think I made JP a moderator. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull up some more info. I've been on the mic here for a minute. Let's go ahead and pull up Google here, so I can kind of go ahead and actually make this all make sense here. So I've been on the mic for an hour 42. Alright. So let's go ahead and pull this up full screen. No thanks. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull this up full screen here, and let's basically go to school. So we're gonna first type in eBay. eBay is going to be your best friend in this budget build. We're going to practically build the whole car out of eBay. eBay is going to be your literal best friend. You literally need to make an eBay account right now. It's going to be your best friend. So the first thing that you need to do on this setup is type in GT45 turbo. Just type that in, and you'll see a whole bunch of other turbos, and I can guarantee you the one that that he picked was probably this one right here. This turbo right here, 1. No, that's not the right AR for that turbo. That's way too much for that turbo. Way too much AR. I think the AR on that turbo is like 0.90 something. But the turbo that I'm talking about is let's see, 76. You should pop it up right here. This is the turbo that I'm talking about. CX Racing 76mm turbo. Now the mistake that people will make is that they'll buy one of these ones. I don't care which one you'll buy. Whenever you buy one, I don't care which one you end up buying. Now if you like double tap the 20 seconds, Steve, it'll pop up what I'm on right now. I don't care which turbo you buy. I don't really care. But what people will do, the wrong misconception that most people will do is they'll buy this one, the $581 one, and then they'll have to end up buying more shit. You don't want to have to end up buying more shit, because you buy more shit, then the price goes up and you're screwed. Basically at that point, This turbo right here is fine, but I'm going to show you the one that I was talking about the whole time. 92mm turbo. If you're a street car, the turbo is going to take a hell of a long time to build boost. And if you're taking off from stoplight to stoplight or whatever you're trying to do, let's say you're merging on the traffic. Let's just use this for instance. You're merging on the traffic, right? And you lay into the car. A 92mm turbo is going to take way longer to build boost than a 76. A 76 is going to pull harder off of the line than a 92. Simply because the 92 is going to take more time to build boost. But a 92 will chase you down over a 76 because you can only push 76 so far. But this is the turbo that you want. It comes with the fittings and all that. And it already comes with the adapter. So it already comes with the adapter V-band. If you want to get high tech, if you want to get all high tech with it, you know, you can run V-bands on your intercooler piping. Let's see, right here is you use a V-band, but it already comes with adapter. So Steve and you in particular, for your intercooler piping, you're probably gonna use some hose clamps and stuff like that. This is what you need if you're gonna go this big of a turbo. If you're gonna upgrade to something like this, the turbo you have is fine. But I'm just saying this is a way more reliable turbo, and it makes way more boost, and it's, you know, runs way better. It's way smoother, and it's a ball bearing turbo, so it'll kind of sit there and spin for a minute whenever you cut the car off. Alright, so I think I already have something here. Don't mind this is my cam kit that I'm getting for my 6 liter, but if we're just going onto my cam kit here, essentially this is my cam. My cam has a little bit more lift and a little bit more duration than that. See, my duration is up by 10 on the intake and up by 2 on the exhaust. My lift is practically the same, and my LSA is practically the same as this 115. And if you don't know how to spec up a turbo cam, basically a turbo cam, you want a lot of lift and a lot of duration with a high LSA. Whenever you go to low LSA like a 109, a 108 or 107, it leaves the valves hung open, and whenever you leave the valves hung open, it lets boost leak, and you know, you lose boost. It's crazy. You don't want that. But this is probably one of the best ones I could probably recommend. Stage 2 is probably what you're more so looking for. And this one is $379, so you can run Pac 1218 valve springs with this one and get away with this just fine. But since we're already on the topic of it, since this is what I would personally build, what I would personally put together for it, I'm just gonna go ahead and add this to the cart. Like I said, eBay is your best friend on this one. And we want to just factory remove that. Yes, remove that. Alright, and so we're gonna look up some Pac 1218 valve springs, and we can probably find some old guy who his grandson ordered these and was not able to use them. Let's see. These are 135, 155, and these are beehive style valve springs. Let's see. If I can find some retainers to go with it, I'll probably get the retainers as well. Titanium retainers. If I can't find them though, I will not go with them. Manly push rods. This comes with push rods as well. 234 bucks. It comes with push rods? I think so. Let's see, what's 7.4? Alright, so this is the factory link push rod. So I think this is the one that I'd probably go with. I might have to go to 1219 valve springs, or I'm thinking I might have to go to 1219s if I'm not mistaken, because I think those might be a bit much. So and if you are on a real budget, the Pac 1218s will work just fine. Just look up a sloppy stage 2 cam and you'll be well on your way. So, or you can use the LS9 cam, that'll work good as well too. Sloppy stage 2 cam. Let's see, and and this one comes with springs. It looks like I said, another eBay deal, and it comes with retainers. This is probably, let's see, 585, and you see what I'm talking about here, right? 585. Valve seals. I don't know what springs these are, but like I said, steals and deals. You can find them everywhere, literally everywhere. 425 bucks, and you literally have a cam with springs. Literally a cam with springs. So right now we're at 1,108. All right, so let's try to find a Boneyard 5.3 liter. We're just gonna try to find one here on eBay. Just, you know, just generally speaking, we're gonna try to find the cheapest one. One that does not have 3 billion miles on it. Let's see here. 850 with 160 on it. This one has 160,000 miles on it. I'm gonna keep on looking here. Let's see, I'm almost set on that one though. I'm almost just gonna say let's just go with that one. Here goes one for 665. And y'all wonder how I find LS engines for cheap and have low mileage on them. This is literally it. And if I were to buy this motor, I'd probably call the guy, ask him what it came out of, how many miles about roughly does it have on it, and you know, it already has a transmission hooked up behind it, so I'm assuming that's an 80E, no, a 60E, my bad. I'm assuming that's a 60E that's already behind it, and I'd probably call him and be like, hey, I'll throw another 300 bucks in, will you give me the transmission as well? And he'd probably say yes. So that's the deal that we're gonna go with. So we're already at $1,800 basically. LS9, what the hell? LS9 head gaskets. There goes a pair of MLS for 105 bucks, and it is free shipping. And we're gonna go with LS head studs. Oh, what the hell? Why did it go to headers? I want head studs. And you're gonna see what I'm talking about here. Literally, you can find some cheap old head studs, you know, and they'll hold just fine. Speedmaster makes some decent ones. I'd probably go Speedmaster if I were on a real budget. So we're probably just gonna go with Speedmaster here. And you gotta watch that year, because different ones have longer or shorter bolts on the end. So you kind of gotta watch that. I'll be right back real quick. I need to go grab a drink, and we'll get back onto this. Alright, y'all, I'm back, got a water. Let's get back to this. So those now. Everything else on the bottom end can be reused. You're gonna see what I'm talking about. Let's see what I'm talking about here. Let's see. Here they are. So this one is way too expensive. I think that's for tab. No, that's way too expensive. This is the one that you want if you're on an actual budget. Alright, so this is the one that you actually want to buy. And I know a lot of y'all are going to say, well, I can do that, I can build that. No, fucker, you can't. You cannot do this the way they do this. It's precision. So that's the one that I would go with. Like I said, it is $100, but believe me, it's well worth it. LS6 timing chain. Literally the cheapest timing chain that you can possibly upgrade to is the LS6 one. Now the thing is, can we find the set for it? I don't think we can. Let's see, that's the sprocket kit. LS6. Really don't want that. I just want the timing chain. This looks to be the one right here. So this is the one we're gonna go with. $24, $24.99. I think it does have free shipping. Most of all this stuff has free shipping on it. Mostly all of it has free shipping. You don't have to pay for a single thing of shipping. So now we have all this crap, right? We basically have a solid platform for the motor. And you know, you can add in all the other odds and ends and bull crap. You know, it'll probably be in like another $100 for odds and ends. But now we have the base setup. Now we're just gonna go straight to the transmission and look up an HD2 kit. We do need to type in 408E for that. HD2 kit. And we want the one for the newer 4L80E. Like I said, the kits are cheap, super cheap. Literally the cheapest kit that you can buy to upgrade a 80E. So that's one we're looking for. Let's see. M1. No, that's not the one we want. Should get heavy duty. That's what we want. Alright, so the kit is $125. This is literally cheap. What do you mean, just 2N? What do you mean by that? Like, do I just buy certain gaskets? Or just top? See, the only thing about the gasket set is that sometimes it comes with these cheap old gaskets that break apart and crap. Like, I could see if you're on a performance site like Texas Speed and Performance, which I deal with a lot, I could see if you're with them and ordering a gasket set, because they're not gonna put, see, yeah, lead cranking. I would not pull the crank out whatsoever. But if the only way I'd buy a gasket set if I was on like Texas Speed and Performance, because they're gonna use the multi-layer gaskets. They're gonna use the best gaskets that they can possibly get. That's the only way I'd buy a gasket set. And you can still pull the pistons and rods out with the crank still in. You just got to drop the oil pan and all that. So yeah. But torque converter is up to you. You can literally do anything you want with the torque converter. I do not give a care. Intercooler piping and stuff like that. The piping is probably gonna run you, I think, like $100, $110, something like that. Intercooler is probably gonna run you like 76 bucks, 80 bucks at the max. We do need a wastegate, so I'm gonna look up wastegates. What is it? Turbo Smart, I think it is. See what wastegates they have. Look at this. Budget. Super budget right there. They make boost controllers as well if you're looking for one. So we don't need that. Alright. See, we don't need that one either. So we're gonna look for the one. Should be a 48mm one. You know what? We'll just go with this one for now. Yeah, we'll just go with this one for now. Seems pretty decent. Should not have any boost leaks either. Alright, and as far as your 90s and stuff like that, that's all up to you. I'm not gonna add that into this. Obviously, the piping and the intercooler would probably be another 250, 270, somewhere in there with shipping. As far as everything goes, I think that's about it. You can do a converter if you would like, or you can take your converter to a converter shop and get it restalled and do that. Like I said, like me, I would probably do the sloppy trans brake. What else? You know, paint the motor, make it look nice. Reuse the factory manifolds, weld some V-bands onto it, and you know, you'd literally be in there like somewhere. I said, just what I just said is literally less than $3,500 that you're into the swap. You know, you got a motor. I added a motor into the cost. You know, which if you already have the motor, you're probably not even going to add the motor into the cost, but I added a motor into the cost. With the harness, and it comes with the PCM and all that. Complete motor. It comes with accessories and all that. I literally add that into the cost. If I take that out of the cost, this will be well under $1,000, well under, like 15 something. Let's see. That's about it. That's really everything that I could possibly sit up here and put together real quick that I know that would work. If I was under a tight crunch and somebody asked me to put this together for cheap, this is literally what I put together. And you know, even if you wanted to get fancy with it, you could probably do a twin turbo kit. Just get 2 of those super cheap ones. But like I said, I would not go, you know, any cheaper than that one. You know, if you're just trying to see what you can do for the first time, you know, that'd probably work. But I'd probably upgrade to the one I just put in there. So I'm trying to physically think what else I can add into the cost. Now, if we're talking about assembling a whole entire car, I'd probably look into a Ford 8.8, and then you can basically bracket it inside of a car. If I'm not mistaken, the boxes and the G-bodies are darn near the same exact width. So everything I use on my El Camino, I could probably transfer it over into a box, more than likely. Disc brake 5 lug, that was a conversion. That ain't no newer end. Ruler. Let's see here. I'm gonna look up 7.5 axle kits. Personally, I would not waste my time upgrading to 7.5, but if that's all you got to work with, upgrade it. Let's see. Here's the cover that you would need. So that's another 136 bucks. Let's see. Just trying to see what else. You know, this is probably the best bang for buck, but it's 26 spline. You want 28 spline. Gov Posi for. See this right here. This is the cheapest one right here. So if you're looking for a cheap Posi unit, 373s. Take a set of 373s, put it on there. Make sure you keep all your factory shims and crap. Shim it all out. Let's see, what is this thing doing? Shim it all out, and you know you'd completely be fine. So that's probably the cheapest way possible of doing that setup. And then you can go right on over here. Axles are 274 bucks for both of them, and then you just got a Gov lock kit for 95 bucks. And then you know you're gonna pick up a Gradle and a set of gears, and you're probably in if I had to guess, I'd probably say roughly 500 bucks. A set of gears are gonna run you like 150, something like that. So you know you're in there for 500 bucks. You have a decent little rear that can take some power on the street. And you know, if you also want to add a little bit of suspension to the car, you can probably add a set of 90-10s on it with some 50-50s on the back. Brakes, if your car comes from the factory with disc brakes on the front end, that'd be fine. The back end on a 7.5, I'd probably go straight to a Camaro, like a 1995 to a 2002. The LT1 powered cars, like my car is a LT1 powered car. So if I want to convert a car to disc brakes, I could use a 1995 to a 2002 LT powered car, LT1. Or you can use the LS1 cars, anything you want, as long as it has the rear disc brakes. Just take everything off of it, snatch it all off, probably steal that thing for like 200 bucks. So yeah, 98s work fine. They basically use the same exact calipers and stuff. On the front end, if we're talking like neck braking, stopping, I'd probably go with Corvette. And UMI makes the adaptation braces and all that crap. So there you go. Or if you want to use the Ford Explorer, and like I got the 8.8, those come from the factory with disc brakes. They come from the factory with bigger wheel studs. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Upgrade your wheel studs. You need wheel studs. Please, for the love of God, get some wheel studs. Do not run those same old wheel studs that's been on the car for the past 20 something years that have only been replaced once in the car's lifetime. Please upgrade the wheel studs. It will save your car and it will save your life. Please. That wheel comes off, you're doing 110 miles an hour, you're fucked. And especially seeing that a G-Body uses the smallest wheel studs produced. Come on now. So upgrade them, please do. Especially the rear. The front's probably fine. The rear is the ones that you really want to upgrade. If you can get some 1/2-inch studs in there, you might have to drill some stuff out, but get some bigger studs. Yeah. So yeah, on the 8.8, it uses the 1/2-inch studs. So yeah, see if I can pick up the live stream from here. Let's see here. Let's see if I can pick it up, y'all. So yeah, please do not rerun the same old damn wheel studs. I'm trying to think what else. There isn't much else that you can really do. Just be safe while you're doing it. And if you're building a little car, you do want to take it to the track sometimes. I can guarantee you that Box Chevy is going to run 10s at least with this setup. So be looking ready to get some sort of roll bar put inside the car. Now, when you're talking cages, people get scared. They think, oh, I'm not gonna be able to drive the car on the street, it's gonna be uncomfortable. Think of it this way: the door bar is just like you sitting your arm on the armrest. It is just as uncomfortable as them. Think of it this way: the roll cage, the halo, and the main hoop, you're not even gonna see it inside the car. You're not even gonna notice it while you're driving the car. What else? You can put a swing out bar in it. You know, a swing out bar is gonna make it easier to get in and out the car. Basically, it uses a pencil hitch system, and you lift it up, and you can swing it out with the door. Get back in the car, swing the bar back inside the car. You don't have to pin it back up. You can just sit the pin inside of a cup holder and ride around or whatever. But yeah, that's basically what I would do. You know, $5,000, you could have a decent box. You could have probably one of the fastest box Chevys in your area for $5 grand. Just off of doing a turbo setup. And you can use the factory truck intake literally. So yeah. So I think I'm gonna cut this one off right here, y'all. I might go live a little bit later. I'm thinking about doing a Google's Hangouts later on, but you know, it's been real. I'll hit y'all back later.